What's up, Creepers and Geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep, and welcome to another installment of the Milieu Macabre. This one's not necessarily going to be anything creepy. This is just a couple projects I've worked on and wanted to show you guys because I'm excited about them. But unfortunately, in true Chris fashion, once I got started with them, I had the intention of either filming or taking a lot of photos of the process, but I get wrapped up into the process itself and tend to forget to do that. So a few of these things, I think it's gonna be three or four total. You're only gonna see little snippets here and there, and then boom, all of a sudden it's done. But I'll try to talk through it and tell you what I did in between each process, and hopefully you'll be somewhat entertained if you're into this kind of thing. So let's get started with the first project. All right, so this first one is a 3D printed one-to-one, meaning it's a full-size scale. Um, Copy of Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from A New Hope. I like to build lightsaber hilts. I don't really get into the whole lights and sounds thing because I really don't have a practical use for it. I'd rather just, build something and display it on a shelf or let someone else enjoy it. And I honestly don't remember what I was looking for when I found this, but I found it on eBay and it was dirt cheap. So I thought at first, of course, it was going to be questionable quality, but it turned out to be really nice. I was really excited about this thing. And as you can see, it comes in multiple pieces, and there is a lot of like little flashing pieces that you have to cut off. That's really stuff for like when they print up the damn thing. It needs support for the actual printing process. So you just cut some of that away. I'll try to input a few pictures of it. And then once you cut that away, you sand it, and then you start kind of just dry fitting pieces together. So this first picture is part of the emitter neck, I guess you would call it. I just started dry fitting it. You got to do a lot of sanding to make it fit perfectly, and it's real tight. It's tough to get it back on and off, but so I just started dry fitting it, putting it together. This picture here was mainly just to show scale. A buddy of mine wanted to see, how big it really was. So this is actually one, two, three, four, five pieces actually put together. This next picture will just be the emitter here, and that's two pieces. You get the outer ring and then the little piece in the middle. There's a lot of sanding and fitting on this piece here. Um, but I really love that stuff. So here I am kind of putting it together a little bit more just to, again, show what it looks like as you're throwing it together. And then what I ended up doing was taking it apart. I don't have pictures of that. I'm sorry. I didn't take pictures of each process. Um, Took it apart piece by piece and just started painting each individual one. Now that's the grip, which I guess would be the grenade part on the original prop. I start off with a black, and I dry brushed and then kind of like spot point some silver, and then a little bit of rust, a little black, a little bit of rust, a little bit. You just layer on different colors, and you get the effect that you really want. Here's another progress picture. This one shows pretty much the main body in different pieces. You can see I decided to go with a copper color on the inside of the. I don't know what that middle piece would be on the neck, but and then almost like an aluminum on the outside. It's just another angle I guess I took. And I wanted this prop to look like it'd been used for, a couple of decades. So I added some rust to it here and there. And I usually use a brick red for that. That works really well. And again, I'm just using regular craft store acrylics. Here's just a couple little close-up pictures I took. I don't remember why, just to show some detail. And here we should start seeing the final product. And I was really happy with the way it came out. I'm still not 100% finished with it. There's a few little buttons here and there, and then the D-ring clip for your belt that hasn't been painted and put on yet, and the little bubble thing that came on for the activator that would go on the top where that the middle clamp is. I haven't done because it's supposed to be clear, but it came out white because that's what he printed it in. And yeah, so I'll just wait till I get one of those to put on there, and it'll be 100% finished. But I'm happy with the progress on this one, and it's got some weight to it, so all right, so this next one's just a real quickie, couple pictures. As many of you know, Frankenstein's monster is one of my favorite characters of all time. And every year I go to Michael's and I buy one of those little ceramic head thingies and I paint them. Sometimes there's a haunted house one. And I don't have my Frankenstein that I had in Arizona, so I picked this bad boy up. The one that was to the left in the other picture, I got that one from my girlfriend's daughter Lily. Showed a lot of interest in painting one. So I got her that one, and one of the days that they were home just before school started, we painted them together. So let me turn it over to Lily, and she could talk about hers and how she went about painting hers. Go ahead, hon.
Um, I painted mine with green. Um, I think it's really cool because it has black on one of the cheeks, and I think it is pretty cool. And I did some stitches.
Rad. That's awesome. And I think she did a fantastic job. And basically, here's mine finished. It's on the nightstand next to our bed. Sorry about the dark picture, but you get the basic idea. I didn't go as elaborate on this one as I did my original one, but I'm happy with the results, and I can't wait to display it in the new Creep Farm. So this next one I'm really excited about. It's not an original idea. Some people were like, wow, that's really creative. But I seen the idea already on the internet. There's two of them out there. One was a Game Boy Color, and one was an original Game Boy. And when I saw that, I was like, yep, I'm going to make me one of those too. Not necessarily to copy someone else's art, but I just wanted one. And rather than pay someone else to do it, I said, fuck it, I'll just do it myself. So I started with a Game Boy that did not work, period. So I went to my local dollar store and I found this robot toy. I was looking specifically for a robot thing. Because I wanted this to be kind of a Frankenstein's monster robot, kind of whatever, the Game Boy run amok. And the reason I picked this one in particular is because, well, simply it was the only one there. And I just took that as fate. Now, on my other phone, I mentioned this in a couple of videos, it died, and I had a whole bunch of footage of this. This was going to be its own video, but I can't retrieve any of it. So I'm going to do my best and input a bunch of stuff here so you can see the process, and hopefully it'll be fun. But I was really excited how this one came out. So I basically just started by tearing the thing apart. I didn't take a picture of the whole robot, but here's the feet and the hands I took off. I had to trim a little bit off of the feet to get it to sit on the Game Boy. So I trimmed that up and I got it to my liking so far. And then I started doing some silver dry brushing, mostly around the edges of the squared off parts, just to give it that worn metallic look, like it's been around and rugged and it's, been through hell and back. And here's another view of it. I don't know what more to say about it. It's got some silver paint on it, dry brushed. I wasn't exactly happy with how the silver came out, but I just left it as is. I touched it up with a little bit more black, and then I hit it with again that brick color to give it a little bit of a rust look, and then a little bit more silver. Again, just applying layer after layer. And the thing that stinks about this one is I filmed a whole bunch of videos of me just destroying this Game Boy, including the one that you folks seen a long time ago of me just washing it. And I just basically kind of reenacted a lot of it and got Lily involved, the one who did the other Frankenstein deal. And I had a lot more video, but that's pretty much it for video. Then I took it inside and I sanded it down to smooth off the rough edges, just enough. And I hit it with a dry brush of kind of a shamrock grassy green. I'd read in a psychology book a long time ago, and I don't know how true it is, but universally, certain shades of green um, it makes people think of illness. And I figured if this was going to be a Frankenstein's monster or a zombie thing, that there would be greens in there, but I didn't want it to pop as green. So what I did is I started with the green and then layered everything else on top of it. But as you may or may not be able to see later on, you can still see some of the green coming through. So here it is pretty much after layering different colors of blacks, browns, and again, that brick color to give it a little bit of a rust. Honestly, and I know a lot of people say this about their art. I don't brag too much, but the image doesn't really do the rustiness justice. If you were here in person, it would look a lot more convincing than it does in this picture. But you can also notice in the middle of the Game Boy, some of that green is still popping out, and that's basically what I was trying to go for. And here, basically, I just took the screen and I sanded it a little bit, and I hit it with a couple of different colors, washes, mostly blacks and dark greens, and wipe most of it away. And then, of course, hit the edges with the black just to give it that extra grody look. And here, just another random progress picture. So now we need to give this fucker a face. The image you see on the bottom is what I wanted to use. And I printed it out long before I even had the Game Boy itself. So I wasn't able to really truly judge the shape because I don't own a Game Boy. I'm not really into handheld gaming all too much. But when I finally got the Game Boy, I realized that head was way too big. Problem is I could never find it again in clip art. I searched it every which way possible and still could never find it. So then I got the ones on the top and they fit perfectly. The one to the far left is the same face used on those other two examples of this project that I mentioned that inspired me to do it. But I printed it out anyway. And then I saw the other two, the middle one and of course the one on the right. And I wasn't quite sure exactly which one I was going to use. So basically what I did was I just trimmed them out as best as I could, just kind of mocking it up. And I showed this picture to a couple of friends online, and of course my girlfriend was there and her two kids. I asked three adults and two children which face they think would work best. Here in the home, I actually kind of put it together just so you can have an overall look on what it looks like. And universally, everybody picked number three. I wanted to stay away from number two because it had been done before. Number one, I was questioning, but three seemed to be the winner. So here he is, starting to put it together. I know I didn't show you painting the buttons, but I burnt them with cigarettes and stuff like that to give them texture. And then I just tried to match it the best I could. And here he is complete. I basically just used a wire coat hanger for the arms and then wrapped wire around it. I know you can't see it too well here. Hopefully in a few pictures you'll be able to see it. And what he's holding in what his right hand on our left side is actually a piece of himself. I believe that went to the headphone jack or something like that, and the on-off switches on it. But it was just easily popped out, and I figured it would look cool that he had a piece of himself just hanging out. And I was extremely happy with the finished results. Again, in person, it looks a lot better. Pictures don't really do it much justice, but I was super excited when I finally had this thing physically in my possession. So here he is on his shelf next to the Sears Telly games in all his glory. And I'm really super excited how he came out. I think it came out really good. Now here you can see the wires and everything on the side. I just took that picture real quick just so you get an idea what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, a little bit of fun playing on the rocks at the park right behind our house, making him look like he's out there ravaging the countryside and, raping the horses and riding off on the women and all that kind of stuff. So a couple more shots here. Don't really have much more to say about it. This one's pretty cool because it's kind of like a little makeshift cave underneath a tree stump. And I know you can't really see it too well in this picture, but yeah. So that's him lurking, waiting for his next victim. Which coincidentally, here we go. This was just a fun picture I took. There's a guy who has a magazine called Monsters Holding Bitches, and I took this picture for him just as a goof. So I hope you enjoyed this guy. So this last one, I will pause here for a minute because it is a belated birthday gift for my buddy Mr. Paku Paku. And, I don't want to ruin the surprise because it will be in the mail here in the next day or so. But I wanted to get it into this friggin' video. So, Mr. Paku Paku, this is the point of fucking off. Go away. Okay, so what we got here is a standard Sega Genesis controller. I'd already taken it apart at this point and started washing it. I usually let my stuff soak for about an hour or two in soapy hot water before I actually start cleaning it. Now, this sucks because I started the project with a controller that turned out not to work, and I was quite pissed off about that. So I had to, believe it or not, scour the depths of hell to find one. Every time I would go on, like, say, Craigslist or whatever, the people would either avoid me or whatever. But I was finally able to get my hands on it, and that's why it was so late, making it for them. So here we are, just drying it, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is here. I was so bummed out that I couldn't get this to him sooner, but we got it done, and it'll be in the mail here pretty soon. So here are the supplies I used to get this last project done for Mr. Paku Paku. Um, 3 cans of paint. I went with a satin clear because I don't know. I just didn't feel like doing a gloss clear on this one. I wanted to do something satin. Pink and white primer. I just left whatever was going to stay white in the primer, and you'll see it. Green Scotch Brite for scuffing things, And I got the wrong kind of tack cloths. Those are the tack cloths that are actually sticky. They're tacky, like there's a film on them. Whereas you can buy some that are more electrostatic. They just pick it up by static electricity. And I goofed up, so those ended up not getting used, but they're put in the drawer for now. A decal of Hello Kitty giving you the finger, and just some basic tools to open up the controllers and what have you. All right, so I'm pretty sure these controllers are made of some kind of like a polypropylene kind of plastic, and spray paints don't like to stick to them. So you get yourself some Scotch Brite or even some steel wool, and you scuff the hell out of everything. Just make it matte instead of shiny, and that way the paint has something to bite onto. So I did that basically with the whole housing, and of course the buttons themselves. And after that, you wash it and you let it dry for a night, and then you can get started with the rest of it. And here's just a shot of the buttons and the D-pad all scuffed up. And, if you wanted to see what meats were for sale that week, there you go. Now you can read that and find out. So now they're pretty much ready for primer. I just basically taped them down to a cardboard box. This is a pizza box. And hit it with a few very thin coats of the primer. Again, I went with white on purpose. And in between every couple of coats, what I do is I like to do what they call finish sanding or flat sanding. And I just hit it just lightly enough to, flatten out the surface from the little bumps that spray paint tends to leave behind it. Eggshell or whatever the heck they call it. Orange peeling. There you go. And then you clean it and you let it dry and then you hit it again. And I think I put like 4 or 5 coats on there and then thinned it out so that the surface itself, when it was ready for paint, is very smooth. All right, so after it was dry and ready to go, of course, I hit it with thin coats of the pink. And that's key right there, thin coats. And I left the buttons white. Um, you do a couple of thin coats, and then again you flat sand it and hit a few more thin coats until you get the desired thickness and shade that you really want. And now it's pretty much ready for finishing. You just clean it off with a little bit of tack cloth or soap and water. You just got to be very careful because spray paints, even though they dry quick, they actually take about a week to cure. That's when you can still smell the chemical smell in the paint. It's not fully cured, and once that smell goes away, then you're pretty much good to go. So at this stage, I just let it sit for a few days, and then moved on to applying the decal. So here's everything ready for clear. I basically taped it to another smaller paint pizza box. This one from Melrose House of Pizza. Good stuff, Greek style pizza. It's great. And I hit it again. Always thin coats. You don't want to coat it all the way at once. Just thin coats. Be patient with this kind of thing. And I only did a handful of coats on the buttons. I didn't want them accruing too much thickness. I just wanted enough to seal in the white primer, which in this case is going to be its paint job. Then I took those away from the spray area, and I must have spent about a week and a half just going up in the attic, hitting it with a few coats, letting it dry for a few hours, hitting it with a few coats, letting it dry for a few hours. And then what I would do is I would actually scuff it up a little bit more with a very fine sandpaper. I think I was using 2000 grit. And there's really not much to a 2000 grit, but if you do that, it leaves very little sanding marks. And then once you clean it off, you hit it with clear, and it should come out nice and, flat. So here it is pretty much finished. I've been letting it sit in the window to cure 100% before I shipped it out because there's nothing worse than opening a box and getting a whole bunch of spray paint smell on your face. But I'm not too happy with this picture, but you get the idea. I think the white and the pink came out really well. Now, under normal circumstances, I probably would have painted the Hello Kitty, but I saw the decal and I thought it was perfect for this project, so I just grabbed it and I put it on there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope he enjoys it. I put a lot of heart into it for him. Some people are just hard to shop for. I'm not a people person, so I never know what to get anyone. This idea came in my head, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make that for his birthday. And it was long coming. There's a few trials and tribulations, but I finally got it finished, and it should be on its way this week. And I hope he truly appreciates it and enjoys it. All right, guys. So we've made it this far. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. What was there. I know it wasn't very visually stimulating. I didn't have a lot of information that way. But maybe in the future here, I'll be able to stop what I'm doing for a moment to take a picture or a video and explain it in more detail on what's going on piece by piece. If that's your kind of thing. And if it's not, hey, super duper. I know I left out one big one, my Terminator skull, but it's kind of in limbo right now. That's how my creative process works. I get really big on it, and sometimes projects just kind of stop for a little bit. So I need to take a break on that one. I do have one more project that's Milieu Macabre and Atari Creep meld into one. And I'm hoping if I can get it done in time to make it my Halloween special. But even better, my 100th video is coming up. So I might make it my 100th video special as well. So I just need to acquire a specific piece of hardware to finish it, basically. And that's it, guys. So again, thank you for watching. If you, of course, you made it this far. And until next time, everyone, take care and bye bye.